Hello and welcome to this first Optimly Developer Guide. Throughout this video, we are going to cover all the basic aspects to create the first agent, configure a knowledge base, and integrate tools. To integrate it into a web page, for example, we are going to integrate our first agent into what would be Optimly's landing page. Before we start, let's cover a bit about Optimly's main features. It's a platform to analyze and have exhaustive tracking of all conversations carried out by artificial intelligence agents. Optimly, by default, brings its own integration, although it's possible to integrate it with third-party platforms through its API. For the things that we will cover in this video, the most basic part, but you will always have available in the documentation all the possible integrations, whether through the API. Okay, so going back a bit to the content of this video, the registration process is completely free. Okay, Optimly has a free trial version that we are going to see now. As you can see, you have 50 free messages per month, one agent, and 100 messages of storage, which means that at most we can have 100 when message 101 arrives. Well, the first message will be deleted and the new one will be saved. You have information here about the different plans available, okay? But, well, we did want to have this first developer plan so that any user can register, can integrate their first agent, and so on. So, as you can see, the interface is super simple. We will have, by default, a page that will allow us to create our first agent. When we create this agent, well, let's call it test. Let's see, and let's set it to be in this website category, okay? Okay, as we can see, we have created our first agent, and we are going to manage that agent. In this first tab, we will have the option, as you can see, to add here types of knowledge, whether through PDF, even YouTube videos, a link to a web page from which the code will be extracted, or plain text. In our case, we are going to go directly to manage the prompt. So I have it over here. I have a saved prompt here. Basically, we tell it that it's the assistant that we are going to put on our landing page, and so on. No, here you have to use this token. We will press it to access via the API, and any user who has this token can access this agent. We save. Okay, let's go to the rest of the fields. We can change the appearance that we give our agent, the background color, the color of the messages, and so on. Even the welcome message we give it. We have, in the integration part, examples of how to integrate it using simple HTML or using a React component that we are going to integrate later. And we can also change the style of the position of the bubble that will appear, and if it's a light style or dark style. Another interesting thing we have is that we can make our agent public. What does that mean? That we can copy this link. Okay, for now, we are not going to focus on this, okay, but just so you know, you can generate a link to your own agent, right? And before deploying it on the website, well, as you can see, you have this small page here where you can see what your agent would look like. Let's do a test. For example, let's change the welcome message, or let's put it in gray. for example, if in this color. Okay, so we come to the integration, we go to the preview, and as we see the color style has changed, this is up to each individual. You can see it here. We can open it in a separate tab. That's up to each person. Okay, over here, we could already start doing tests. And then one of the things that we have integrated in the web integration is that it allows us to give feedback on each of the messages. I'm going directly to the Agents Testing tab here. What we have is the same behavior as the widget we just saw, but without the integration style. Here, well, we can test what the behavior of our agent is. As you can see, we have already prompted it. Even without including knowledge, we see that as if we had added it in the prompt, the model is capable of giving us the correct answer. There, at this point, we would already have our agent. We could share the public link of our agent. But let's review the tools part first before we start integrating, which is what would be missing. Right now, we have 3 tools available for you to use. We have a lead collector. We will configure the parameters we want to collect. And once those parameters are collected, we will configure an email account. And once the user fills in those parameters, it will send us an email with the user's information, a tool for the user to book appointments themselves. Okay? And an email integration to automatically transfer conversations to email when necessary. Let's do a small test with the lead collector. Okay, so we just configure it here. Let's click configure and let's put, we want a product. Okay, well, let's put product here and let's put, and save the configuration. And to test it, let's click save here again. How do we test it? We come here to the agent, very simple. Let's tell it, even though at Optimly, we don't really sell a product as such, but you can see that it immediately understands that we are in the process of getting a new lead and asks me for the complete data. So at this point, the lead has been collected and will be sent to the email account that we have specified. At this moment, we would already have our agent configured. We have checked that it works as we want it to work. So the next step would be to integrate it into our website. As we said, in our case, I am going to integrate it into a page made with Next.js. So we are simply going to take this code, and once we have compiled the project, we have integrated our React component, we have redeployed the project, we would already have our agent here. We would have the same functionality that we had in our interface. Well, we would have it available here for the end user. So at this point, we would have the entire integration ready. And what would be next? The next would be to go to the analytics part, and we would need to explore the final part. As you can see here, the free version simply allows you to create one agent. If in case we wanted to have several agents, we would have to upgrade to the starter version, okay, which is the most interesting for these cases. And if we go to the analytics part, here we would see the interactions that our clients have had with the agent. At first glance, what can we see? At the top, we have a summary of this last week. Number of conversations, total messages, the average user response time, the maximum time it has taken the user to respond. the sentiment trend and the emotion, and the questions that have been asked. We can filter both by dates and by agents, okay? And then we will have a table where we can see more detailed information about each of the interactions that we see here. Which agent it comes from, the number of messages that have been sent, the number of questions, the average emotion, the type of conversation we are having, the sentiment, the engagement, and then, very interesting, we also have the agent's prediction of what the user is going to respond. And then as we have the option to transfer the conversation to a human, well, it indicates whether the conversation is active or not. If we click on any of these conversations, well, we will have the option to view each of the messages.